It's 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. YouTube, Facebook Lives, we got you. The dialogue is here, coming right at your eyes and your ears and any other sensory senses. We're coming at you. Dialogue with Dozell. We're here with you tonight. How are you? What's happening? So you saw what our lead in tonight, our lead story, but you're going to have to generate. This is basically a hot button Monday. We're going to look at the sports debate shows and their histories and that kind of stuff. But we want you to help drive this tonight. Let me just say right up front, we're so grateful for our producing team at SimoneGoGiggyCreations.com. You'll hear more from them at the bottom of the hour. They are the ones who make this program look and be as good and successful as it is. And we're just thankful to you tonight for joining on. Listen, tell somebody, share this program out. And if you're a YouTube subscriber, you're watching us on YouTube, subscribe to Dialogue with Dozell so that others will know, and you'll get an idea anytime the dialogue is doing anything that our brain is doing. That's right, subscribe to it. And you'll be one of the heads ups to get it and find out what's going on. We're going to get right into it tonight, but before we do it, we want to express our sincere condolences and maybe next week, perhaps we'll talk more in depth about it. We want to express our sincere condolences to the Broward County Sheriff's Office in the loss of their pilot and the captain and a ground crew, a person who was on the ground, and several people who works with Broward County Sheriff's Office Fire Rescue Helicopter, which went down early this morning here in Pompano Beach. Our hearts go out to those families, and we speak Godspeed with their souls. And the dialogue just want to express their sincere love and appreciation for the work that you're doing and the work that you were doing when you left, when you transitioned from this place. The dialogue today, we're going to be talking about sports debate shows and what's the future of them, what's the future of the market, what's the future of the genre, talk about TV. We're going to kind of look, as you know, when the dialogue started, we dealt with, it is our aim to look at historical events, politics, to look at culture, and sports is going to be one of those. And tonight we're going to look at the sports genre on TV, but we're also going to look at the history or what's happening with contemporary TV in view of the writers and actors strike, as this is a time of year that the new shows will be debuting, and we will be watching them. We're going to talk about some of the shows, and some of us had an opportunity last week to fly with a gentleman who is a animated writer, and he gave a lot of insights into what's going on in Hollywood and what's not going on, and how the streaming industry has caused us the kind of help precipitate these debates, these protests or these boycotts. And so as a result, we the consumers and TV holics like myself will be relegated to some of the news programs and some sports programs. Thank God the NFL is about to start back, and just those kinds of things. But the dialogue is coming right at you. And first, we want to talk about what has transitioned here on sports TV over the last year, beginning really at the beginning of the calendar year. So, sports debate shows are the two sports networks, ESPN and Fox Sports 1, have for the last 6 or 7 years, they have been competing sports debate shows. And the irony of it is that ESPN's show, First Take, The two original partners of that show were Stephen A. Smith and Skip Bayless. Skip Bayless skipped ESPN and went over to Fox to offer this competition to ESPN several years ago, and joining him was Shannon Sharp, who was recently retired from the Baltimore Ravens at that point, and had worked several sports stints with national sports broadcasting programs, and now there he was with ESPN. I'm trying to get rid of the shadow. I don't know where it's coming from, but anyway, and now he partnered with Skip Bayless, the former partner who had really brought Stephen A. Smith along, and now Stephen A. Smith was partnered with Max Kellerman. Well, about 3 years ago, Max and Stephen A. parted ways. Max starting his own show on ESPN and having a highly successful morning run with Keyshawn Johnson and Jay Williams, Keyshawn, Jay, and Mac show in the morning. The radio broadcast was broadcasted on TV, and then Skip had a show, not Skip, but Max Kellerman had a show of his own, This Just In, and he was doing well. Well, Max Kellerman fell victim, if you would, to the layoffs that Disney or ESPN incurred, which also cost Keyshawn his job. And so Max, as we see so far, has not resurfaced. Keyshawn resurfaces. They will talk about that more in a minute. But Disney ESPN is owned by the Disney Corporation, and the Disney Corporation made massive cutbacks, and part of those cutbacks were the cutbacks to the ESPN product. And some of the great better names, Steve Young, the Hall of Fame quarterback, the coach who coached with Pat Riley and his brother, he was cut. And then Mark Jackson later was cut, who was part of that 3-part NBA broadcast with Mark Green. There were some of the larger names that were cut along with others over at ESPN. In the meantime, in January, of course, one of the first things that happened in the sports world was the very scary accident that we saw, an incident on the football field. The Buffalo Bills, number 3, went down with cardiac arrest, and and unbelievably, gratefully, he not only has, and gosh, somebody help me with his name, Damar Hamlin, came back from his life being, in fact, he had coded several times right on the football field, and he was brought back, and thank God, and released from the hospital a few weeks later and attended a game. And believe it or not, he is now in training camps with his beloved Buffalo Bills, and he's, I guess, slated to start the season the week after next when it begins play for the regular season. And that precipitated the split over at Fox 1 with the sports debates program Undisputed. So when that happened, there were a series of tweets that went out that night. They're not tweets anymore, they're X, but they were tweeted on Twitter that night. And long story short, Shay Sharp thought that his partner, Skip Bayless, showed insensitivity by some of the things that he said. I think it kind of, the NFL decided that night, the players, the head coaches, the Players Association, and the league office decided to stop that game. And it was in the midst of a fierce playoff run between the Buffalo Bills and the Cincinnati Bengals. And it caused home field advantage to be changed, and Cincinnati still would beat Buffalo later in the playoffs to get to the AFC Championship game. But it was a scary night, and thank God that we can look in the rearview mirror and say that it was a scary night, and it did not have scarier consequences. But one of the side byproducts, or one of the collateral damage from that night, was a rift between Skip and Shay Sharp. They discussed it the next day on air on Undisputed. And ultimately, the rift was so wide that Shay Sharp decided to part ways with the Undisputed brand. That was about 6 weeks ago, somewhere over there in early July, mid-July, that Skip, that Shay Sharp left Undisputed, and Undisputed went into a hiatus. Most of the summit was off there. It re-debuted the day. In the meantime, in radio they would say in between time, in the meantime, and in between time. In the meantime, Keyshawn Johnson, who, as I mentioned earlier, was part of the program with the morning show, the morning radio show that was simulcasted on the airways of ESPN with Jay Williams and Max Kellerman, was let go when ESPN when they cut staff. Keyshawn, the former New York Jet, Tampa Bay Buccaneer, UCLA Bruin, was let go. He was kind of out in the wind, and Keyshawn, of course, lives on the West Coast. He's originally West Coaster. And then there was Richard Sherman, who had, ironically, we're going to talk about that later, had a major rift with Skip Bayless when Skip Bayless was a part of the ESPN First Take brand, and also Michael Irvin. Michael Irvin, who, of course, was brought on at ESPN by Stephen A. Smith as part of the rotating guest. Michael Irvin would come on Mondays as the guest with Stephen A. Smith. And at the Super Bowl, there was an incident, a legal incident. Michael Irvin was basically put on hold by the NFL Network, where he was permanently based, and with ESPN, and was kind of hanging in the wind. So Fox Sports 1 took the chance, and they grabbed the three of those guys and brought them on. And today they had their debut on Fox Sports Undisputed. Can we show that post of all of them? And of course, that was you see smiling Keyshawn, you see Skipping, who's the leader of the show, you see Richard Sherman, and of course Michael Irvin in the background. Now, in this newly formatted show, Skip Bayless is now the moderator also. Those two sports debate shows had Marley Karam is over on ESPN, and the young lady who was there with Fox Sports 1 did not come back after the hiatus that Undisputed took. So Skip Bayless at this point, and hopefully they're going to bring in another young lady that will assume the role of moderator, came on. And so Skip Bayless is playing the part of moderator. And what we were told in the beginning when we heard that Skip Bayless was coming on and bringing on Richard Sherman and the aforementioned Keyshawn Johnson and Michael Irvin, it was stated that Keyshawn or Sherman would be the predominant antagonist, because it's a sports debate show, the predominant person who would be debating debating Skip Bayless every morning. They laid out, it was 100 and some episodes that he would be on. And I don't know how they were planning on bringing Michael Irvin and Keyshawn Johnson on, but I don't know if they would be the days that Sherman was not there, or they would be a huddle type debate as it was today, which was TOO much. Michael Irvin brings a different kind of energy. He's loud, he's boisterous, he's passionate. He knows what he's talking about, but he does it in a very passionate way. Keyshawn is a little bit more laid back, reserved, but he makes great points. And what can you say about Richard Sherman? Richard Sherman is attended Stanford University on a full ride scholarship out of high school, and you don't go to Stanford University unless your SAT scores and your GPA and your overall ability to articulate in all of those lations of maximum ability. And so they made up the team today. They came in, and the person who does the intro for the show is a very good friend of Mr. Skip Bayless, and his name is Wayne Carter, better known as Little Wayne or Wheezy. And Wheezy had done the original intro music for the show. We were not able to put it on here for licensing purposes. In the beginning, when Undisputed debuted 7 years ago, and so now it has been taunted as the new Undisputed, and Lil Wayne came on and discussed, and they showed behind the scenes of the work in the studio of him producing the second show, the current show, and the music. And there was a segment where he came on and they spoke about it. Then at the end of today's show, each person came on and talked about what they liked about the show and what were the things they didn't like. It was a pretty heavy format. Fox has several shows. The show Speak, which Joy Taylor is basically associated as the leader on, has 3 or 4 people at one time. And then there's this Nick Wright's show. I can't think of the name of it. First thing in the morning. It used to be morning show. It's now evening show. There are 3 or 4 people on that show, but there's space even in the studio. There's space. Well, what they have done on Undisputed now, they use a little round table that the 2 debaters, Skip and whoever he's debating, the 4 of them are kind of bunched in there, and it calls for what almost seems like an unorganized, bunched up format. And Skip is an analyst and the moderator. Like again, I'm saying I hope that he kind of changes that, and they get a moderator, and maybe that's down. Maybe it was just his job today to just introduce the show. But meanwhile, ESPN Undisputed debuts. It comes on at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, which means, oh my gosh, it's 6:30 in the morning there, which means those guys are up at 2 or 3 o'clock to start their pre-production work, get over to the studios and get cleaned up, ready to go on camera. ESPN comes on at 10 o'clock, and it comes from New York, from ESPN studios right there on the waterways there in downtown Manhattan. So Stephen A's show, after First Take, after somewhat of, and I know you noticed, this is just kind of a refresher, after dismissing Max Kellerman basically from the show 2 or 3 years ago, bouncing him, Stephen A announcing that Max was a good friend of his. He was happy to have him in originally, but he just thought that, and he admired his intellectual abilities. He just thought that there was not the 2 of them were not a good formula for a sports debate format. And so Max was dispatched to those other ESPN duties at the time. And Stephen A became creative, and he brought those who were guests on this show and made them guest hosts. Like I said, Michael Irvin came in on Mondays, and he'd have other people like Tim Legler or someone come in on Tuesday. And I know Wednesday he had the Mad Dog, Christopher Russo of New York sports and Sirius XM fame is his regular person that comes in on those days. So he say he has a regular person, a different antagonist, for lack of better terms, to debate. And so when asked about the new format that was coming to Fox Sports 1, Undisputed, Stephen A. was quoted to say that he was upset about it. He was concerned about it because he knew that Fox Sports Undisputed was bringing the heat. I mean, either of those 3 guys. When I first heard about the replacement for Shannon Sharp, by the way, Shannon Sharp is going to be one of the people that will debate with Skip Bayless. I mean, with Stephen A. Smith over at First Take, but he is not coming over to take over as the one sole antagonist for Stephen A. He's going to be one of the people that will rotate in that rotating format that they have over ESPN. So it's likely that over at Fox, there's going to be a rotating format of those guys, with Rich Sherman getting the larger of the duties. But we're here today to just say, what's the future of the genre as a whole? What's the future of sports debate? ESPN, the Entertainment Sports Sporting Network, that debuted in 1979. How do I know it? Because it debuted along with Dozell and Wendy. When we were married, it came on the air. And they started out with Sports Center being their signature program and doing a lot of Australian rules football and all of that stuff until they got into the big boys and fought for the big boy contracts, and they became what was a sports leader in sports radio. And then they were assumed by the Disney Corporation. And the Disney Corporation, as I said, of late is making some changes, cutting back, and it affected the ESPN brand. But with Fox making this commitment, they didn't decide to shut the show down. They didn't decide to give Skip Bayless a different, because he's still under contract. They didn't decide to give him a different assignment. They stayed dedicated to the sports debate format. And the format is this. There's several different segments per show, and both of the analysts or debaters try to line up on differing sides of the debate. There used to be a thing that was on CNN that was called Crossfire, and Crossfire had political debaters, right and left, and so it's kind of like the same thing with these two sports debate shows. They're taking issue. Aaron Rodgers dominated the issues this summer because they had to have stuff to talk about. The Dame Lillard being traded to the Heat, that was a big thing that was talked about. Is what's LeBron James going to come back looking like for year 21? That was a big thing he was talked about. Today, they were talking about what is LeBron going to do with the and Mac, how you doing? I don't know why I can't. Okay, let me go up here so I can see my comments. There you go. Thanks, Mac. Okay, Shock Jock format is overrated. Prefer informative content with great unknown stories. So, Mac, good question. Good comment. A good take, as Jim Rome would say. Good take. So, my question to you is: with all of the programming the ESPN has to fill, do you still think there's not enough room on there for a sports debate show? And thanks a lot for hopping on tonight. Do you still not think there's enough room for a sports debate? And those shows run, the First Take is 2 hours. Undisputed is 2 hours and a half. They try to get a jump on First Take by coming on at 9:30 as opposed to 10 a.m. And by the way, First Take is repeated right after it goes off there. It's repeated on ESPN2 at 12 o'clock noon. And then it comes back on again at 2 o'clock on ESPN. Is ESPN College or the third ESPN network? It's ESPN News. That's what it is. So would you say that there's still not room for that? You say that it should be sent over to YouTube at that point, as opposed to coming on and being there for those that can't catch the 10 to 12 hour or who missed the 10, because when it comes on ESPN News at 2 o'clock, it has all of the sports stories all around. It's really not an attractive format, but it's the same show that's brought back again. So let's see. I never watched live shows. Okay. All right. So that's another thing. Now, advantage to the live shows is that they catch the breaking news. There have been several breaking news stories, sports-wise, about contracts that were signed or trades that were made. So that's the positives about the live news. And I don't know, what are the negatives? What are the negatives, Mac? What are your negatives with them coming on live like that on sports? I'm taking that you are a First Take or an undisputed watch, undisputed viewer. I'm taking that you like those two shows, you watch them. Well, you say you never watch live shows, you catch them later. Any particular reason why you don't like those shows live, First Take or Undisputed? Why you don't like them live? One of the things that Undisputed does is that Okay, gotcha. So you over there watching Undisputed, and so you still have the opportunity to pop over and catch, like, if you're a sports fanatic as I am, you still have the opportunity to catch um, most of the times First Take in its entirety. Sometimes ESPN has a preemptive broadcasting, like Little League World Series just kind of popped a lot of stuff off when Wilmington is out, or what is the soccer matches, World Cup, those kinds of things kind of take precedent. But for the most part, you get that second showing of First Take. Tell you what, we're going to take this short break, and we're going to come back. And Mac, I hope you're staying with us, and we're looking for others to hop on and deal with this this whole topic. What's the future of sports debate shows? We'll be right back. Whatever the topic, whatever the genre, whatever the broadcast need is, virtually, there's none better than MoGoGigaCreations.com. They got your virtual needs. They'll take care of you. GoGigaWorld.com. That's their website. Hey, they got you. They'll make you look good. Well, just look at the presentation you're getting now. If that can happen, then anybody can look good. So they got you. They got your web design, all of those needs. MoGoGigaCreations.com, Go Giga Creations, the Toyas, Marquia and team, they got you. They got you. Give them an opportunity. They're resilient. They're post-pandemic, and they're here for the long haul. You saw the names at the end: Anthony Hamilton, Sounds of Blackness, and others. Your name, your web, your program needs to be broadcast right here live through GoGigaCreations.com. Well, it's summertime, and there's a lot of news story going on. This one guy has been indicted 3 times nationally by federal courts, once from a Georgia state court. You got a governor who we call despicable, who's running around, who was booed in Jacksonville yesterday after capitalizing and attempting to get a photo op from the scene of the tragedy there with the shooting. The Republicans just had a debate, and that guy, the latter guy that I just mentioned, didn't raise his hand until he looked around to see if everybody else was going to raise their hand when the moderator asked would they pardon the former president if he was in fact indicted and they became the president. It's a lot of stuff we've talked about, could talk about. I'm letting it all lay. We'll come back to it after Labor Day, the first show after Labor Day. Gloves off. We're coming at all of the stuff. We're doing all the shenanigans, all the hypocrisies, all of that stuff. But tonight is a shout out. I'm shouting out the guys who I was blessed to join on a West Coast golf trip. You see them there. Minister Timothy Griffith put this together for the second time in 3 years. Was unable to make it the last time, made it this time. And what an awesome job he and his team, his cousin Kev, did in lining up 7 of the prettiest, most awesome, fascinating golf courses in Utah primarily. And of course, there's that animal of a golf course called Wolf Creek over in Mesquite, Nevada, about 50 minutes south of Las Vegas. And you see some of us are still wet. That's after we finished the round there at Wolf Creek. And just leave that up for a second. It was more than just 6 brothers. The 6th brother is not in on that picture. And at some point later, I hope to have more pictures of the entire trip. He was not able to be with us at that picture, but it was more than just 6 brothers coming together from South Florida and Atlanta and New Jersey to meet out there to play a game of golf. And by the way, games of golf. By the way, the hurricane had stricken the Los Angeles area, and the ramifications were over in Utah and Vegas where we were playing, and some of the brothers could not get in there because of the only one runway was open in Vegas for a long time. And we all got together by that Monday. We started on Saturday. Griff had a packed itinerary. We got off the plane and got the vehicle and drove the 2 hours down to our site there in Utah. We were on the golf course at 3 o'clock, I think, that Saturday afternoon for the first round of golf. We played golf Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, with the bulk of the group leaving on Saturday. What an awesome time we had, but it was more than us playing sometimes 2 rounds of golf a day. Can you imagine that? This old man out there doing that? Well, we did it. I was not the elder of the group. There's a brother who was 4 years older than I am, and I had just turned 66, and he withstood that storm, and the heat returned by Thursday. The heat was there in full blast. It actually kicked in on Wednesday afternoon. Thursday, it was in full blast. And that was the weather that we had expected to encounter all week long. And that's temperatures ranging from 107 to 105 degrees. But by the grace of God, the storm cooled things off. We had to play one day through the rain, another day partially through the rain, the initial couple days. But by Tuesday, the rain had pretty much left, particularly by our tee times. And man, what beautiful, again, we're going to bring more pictures on later on, and we'll talk a little bit more in depth. But this was more than us just playing golf and comparing golf scores. It was not about that. It was about us just coming together and playing these courses. But it was about brotherhood, camaraderie, spirituality. Griff arranged what was called our man caves, that we met at night and we discussed issues, particularly germane to men, and just a great time and a great thing. And I want to say that whatever you want to build something like this around, whether it's bridge or dominoes or whatever, man, that you could not do a better thing, because we'll go back to our homes and to our communities better men and more well-versed and able to do greater things. So shout out to you, Timothy Griffith, and to every one of you brothers who participated in the Utah West Coast golf trip. This was, like I say, the second year. The first year was 2021, and this was the second trip in 3 years, and it's an off-year thing. And we're hoping that we can say more to you about this in the upcoming weeks. I gotta play this now. I was going to do it at the end of the show, but my brother Anthony Burrell, who is often a guest on this show, he's like a host. He's a brother, so he has a show on social media that comes on just prior to us. So he's actually in us. He's away in studio, and so it's sometimes hard for him to get over to us. But he's a brother you see to the far right. He started a thing called Naughty Head. And Naughty Head is what he proposes to do to us on the golf course. And so Griff and the group teased him about he actually made a song about Naughty Head to the tune of the Spider-Man. Now, Spider-Man, I'm not a big Marvel, Gotham, none of that stuff, comic group, but he knew it and they knew it. And I guess we all know it now. And so he inadvertently was asked while boarding the van for one of our golf outings out there to hit around Naughty Head. So we want to play that for the Dialogues audience tonight. This is Brother Anthony Burrell, who has this thing called Naughty Head.
You ready? Live, we live.
Naughty head. It is something that golfers dread. Well, it's best, don't take no mess. He'll do just what he said. Hey, hey, here comes the naughty head. Here comes the naughty head.
That is just a glimpse of the fun that we had this past week out in Utah and Nevada. With that inverted, it was joked that his version of the song was triple platinum and on its way beating up the charts. And so we'll see about that. We'll follow what's the Billboard. We'll follow Billboard to see how that goes. But we just had a great time. And shout out again to the coordinator of the trip, Tim Griffith, and to all of the brothers who participated, but all of the wives and families who allowed us and made the trip possible for us to go and have the fun that we had. What a great time we had. Back to our topic, the future of sports debate shows. And Mac, thank you for being with us. You said you don't care for the shenanigans. Yeah, because that's what happens. That's exactly what happens. You said X and O's and great motivational stories. You like that. So ESPN has that story, a program called 60, E60, I think it's called, which does a lot of time tear-jerking stories of human interest stories that are dedicated to people in the sports world mainly. And I'm over there more than I am at the other network, but I'm sure Fox has something similar to that. But I mean, I have appreciation for your likes and dislikes. It's habitual for me. I'm trying to break the habit. I'll stick around sometimes. I'll schedule my appointments around this. I'm telling on myself now. I'm squeezed in now because of football season. But I'm on that morning Joe in the morning, and then I inch on over now that Undisputed's back on. I get to pop on and see how they're rolling, and then I'm waiting for Stephen. Interesting enough, today Stephen A. popped on with a lot of energy. He's been going a lot. He's been vacationing. Molly has been vacationing, and they have had good, adequate guests in, and a lot of the guys who fill in and who rotate as host with Stephen A. were on. But Stephen A. came on with a lot of energy this morning because, like I said, he was quoted as saying something to the effect of he was not at all pleased at the talent that Fox Sports had amassed, and the fact that two of those were one of them was right off of his show in Michael Irvin, and Michael was kind of waiting out in the wind to those legal issues were being resolved, and Fox said, we're gonna bring him over. You know, it looks like that's going to work out to Michael's benefit. We hope so. And then of course, Keyshawn was on the contract. Keyshawn left. I think he had $18 million remaining on his contract when he left. I don't know what the resolution was with that. I'm sure there had to be one with him going over to the other network. But Stephen A. was not happy about all of that talent being over on the other side. Now he has Shay. Shay Sharp's going to be with him one of those days out of the week, I imagine. He'll be a one-day co-host, and then he'll have his revolving doors. But he was not happy about having to deal with those guys on the other side. But Stephen A. brings a lot of breaking news. He has a lot of sources. He's a former beat writer with the Philadelphia Inquirer. He is almost like Allen Iverson's big brother, personal friend, mentor. He guides him sometimes on some of the PR things. And that's he's just one of the athletes he has a closeness to. He has multiple sources in the industry. And so he finds out a lot and he gets a lot of information. Of course, the funny thing he does is that his utter disdain for Dallas Cowboy fans, he makes the distinction. He and Jerry Jones are born on the same day or they're the same sign or something, and they're good friends, but he's always out to get Dallas Cowboy fans. And so because of that, he's called Southern Stephen A. He puts cowboy hat on and he talks with that Texas drawl, and he is hilarious in doing so. He came on a lot of energy today because he knew that the new Undisputed was debuting. And interesting things, and Skip Bayless also, Mac, is is widely versed, and he's a former beat writer with the Dallas Tribune. What is that the name of the Dallas paper out there? Um, he worked for the Chicago Tribune, and it wasn't the Sun Times, it was the Trib, I think. And he's also worked in another market as a TV. I mean, as a sports writer for the TV. I mean, for the the newspaper, where a lot of these guys have come from. Dan Lebertard, right here from South Florida, is he's an alumnus of the Miami Herald. He wrote a very special. He allowed them to print a very special eulogy that he did for his brother a few weeks ago, and he made it all the way. He and his father hosted programs over on ESPN, and he's a very talented sports analyst. He also, as does Skip Bayless and Stephen A. Smith, hosts their own podcast. Now, this is just one. This is just one host opinion, humble opinion. I wish that Stephen A. would limit his profanity on sports take, on first take. I wish that he would limit his profanity. When he's on his podcast, it's all no holds barred. He says anything he wants to say, any way he wants to say it, because you're signing on to that, because it's you. Usually we pick that up, Mac, on YouTube or wherever his podcast, the Stephen A. Smith Show, is broadcast from. And Skip Bayless, who does not curse as much, who rarely curses, let me say, has his. But the rift between Skip Bayless and Shay Sharp was because Shay felt that Skip made very insensitive comments about Damar Hamlin when he went down. And I think it centered around him thinking that the NFL should have played the game or continued the game. And they brought that difference on air. They kind of had a Twitter battle, a mini Twitter battle, and they brought that on air. And we thought it was resolved, and apparently it wasn't. Apparently the feeling lingered, and Shannon Sharp made the move of a man of principle, and he left the show, Skip Bayless' show, and he left the show. Now, let me say, Shannon was such a powerful debater on the other side of the table that they had to take a hiatus and revamp the show because there was a massive personality on the other side from Skip Bayless that could not just be replaced just overnight like that. And so that's what happened over at that network, and that's what they dealt with. So we'll see how this progresses further. We'll watch the numbers. First Take overwhelmingly defeats Undisputed in the ratings, and we'll see how that continues to be. We'll see how that plays out over the next few months as the new Undisputed kind of settles into their new format and their new co-host. We'll see how that works out. We'll talk more about that, but I wanted to talk. Let's see, Mac. Okay, so I was unaware of that. I know that Skip is a Bradyite. Okay, Mac is saying that the Tom Brady debate started the unpleasantries between the two. I was unaware of that. I know, like I say, that Skip is a Bradyite. I know that Shay is more like I am. That we give Brady his credit, but we don't make him the GOAT of the world of all time. And so I was unaware that was a precipitator. I thought that was just good on air banner. I didn't know that had gone that deep and caused that many problems. Now, so Skip said that Shannon was jealous of Brady. Yeah. Well, on the other hand, Shay is a LeBroniite. And there's another name, I won't use it on air, for those who like and worship LeBron. I won't call him that, but he's a LeBroniite, And so Skip would always tease him, Mac, about his affinity and love for what Skip used to call the so-called um, king of basketball. So they kind of went at it about that. But I think it was that other thing that really brought the house down between their relationship, the Var Hamlin injury and situation. I want to kind of ask you, Mac, and our audience, as we broaden the topic of culture and TV in general, and I want to thank all of our fans here at Dialogue with Dozell for rolling with us this summer. We have purposely piped it down. We haven't dealt with all of the racist issues of racism that have taken place. The tragedy in my hometown the other day, the craziness of one particular political party. We haven't dealt with any of that stuff. Gloves are coming off in a few weeks. Believe me, we're coming out smoking. We're going to deal with what we just purposely did. Light and easy shows to get us through the summer. We got a couple of more to do. We're going to do a travel show where we're going to bring on she's currently ending an Alaska cruise tour person. Travel agent is going to be on. She's been on before. We're going to bring on a young man who actually worked on a cruise ship and took great pleasure, and he's very energetic about his tenure there. And we're going to bring on a young brother who's I don't know what you call him. We used to call him stewardess or steward, airline assistant, I guess he would be. We're going to ask them to come on and talk about the travel industry and travel and share some of the excitement. And we'll have some of the facts from AAA about travel, because one of the things about culture, man, is traveling and getting to see other places and other areas and see how other people do it is a major thing. So we're going to get those shows in. Next day, we'll probably talk about some holiday and Labor Day things. We had a great show pertaining to that, I think, last year. We may pull some snippets from that. But that's what we're going to do with the show. And then by mid-September, the third week in September, the gloves are off. 45, despicable, Republicans. We're pulling the gloves off, and we're just going to deal with all of the zaniness that's taking place in America. And to say to you, it's a lot of your rhetoric, your political maneuverings, and things that has caused a lot of the tragedies. Yeah, you have caused a lot of the tragedies that have taken place because of what you say, the way you react, the way you have targeted a certain despicable segment of American society that takes us back to the 60s and beyond and above that period. We're going to deal with all of those things we're running hot and heavy into the upcoming presidential election. But one of the things on my travels to the West Coast on last week was I met with, wow, this hour is rapidly escaping us. I met with a young man who is a writer for one of the animation TV series. And I'm not going to call it, but he is moving into a movie that's coming out. And he explained to me in detail, well, there were several of us, there was a psychologist from Vanderbilt University, and the three of us shared a bench, and we talked about this almost a whole trip to Vegas from, where did we come from? Nashville. And he was saying that streaming TV is the streaming TV that has really precipitated the writers' strike, the writers and the actors' strike, because AI, whatever that acronym's for, something about likeness, people being able to take our image, actual image, I think it may be, AI, TV content owners can get that from us, or from individuals, from actors, from talent rather, and maybe give them a small one-time fee and own that. One of the things in one of the airports, I think it was the Vegas airport, was that it's not a monogram, but it's a gram. And Michael Jackson was actually up in the ceiling performing, and it was so real. I was asking, man, was that Michael in concert, actual concert footage, or is that altogram or whatever it's called? And so the actors are afraid that now you can take their AI and sign them to a one-time minimal salary for whatever they offer, and you can use them over and over and over and over and not be paid for it. And I'm sure we all get that. So the idea is that technology is not to reduce a person's ability to earn money in the entertainment industry, but to enhance it. And the owners, content owners, and showrunners on the other side see it as an opportunity to pay a one-time buck, and then to basically own that person's likeness and to use it on and on. The other thing that precipitates the writer's strike, the actors and writers strike, is streaming TV. You have the rights to Max Baer, who played Jethro in the Beverly Hillbillies, is basically the only remaining, he's certainly of the original cast. But when you talk about the musicians and producers and everybody who made the Beverly Hillbillies, one of the more successful 6-year runs in TV, he is the one who is remaining, and he gets great residuals from that series, as does the remaining people from cast members of Sanford and Son, Demond Wilson, and Good Times. They're getting percentages of those shows. And so with streaming TV, it makes the market different, and it makes the opportunity, because ownership rights, and don't ask me the particulars of that, because I didn't take time to learn all of that stuff. But those are the things that are now having to be negotiated. Now, how about us? How about Dozell, a TV holic? My good friend Anthony Burrell, the writer, producer, and the artist of Naughty Head, he's going to have to go and copyright that song. He would say that you know, a TV holic like myself, coming into the fall, where right about now is when the new TV shows are popping out. These when the new TV shows are coming on, and they're not coming on this year. Even if you look at late night comedians or late night talk shows, if you hit that info button, you'll see that they're reruns. So the industry is like at a halt. And this is the other part. Some of the people, some of these artists are hurting. You know, maybe not the stars, because they have a bigger bag to hold on to, or residuals from their bags. But there are others who almost work like week to week, or program to program, or episode to episode, and they are really hurting. It has been said that some of them have had to sell their homes. You know what the cost of living is in LA is humongous, and so it's sad, because that's the labor industry. And we're just wondering how long this will last. And once this impasse comes to an end, then they're going to have to come together and quickly get content back up and schedule things. And so we would have missed half a show. I think it was 25 years ago that this happened, and we endured it. The good thing this time is that we have DVRs and DVDs, and we can pull up shows that I have nearly 100 hours of content on the DVR to look at. There's one series that I'm looking at is okay. So I was a scandalholic. I'm going back through it, looking at it. I'm looking at a combination of it with recorded and on Hulu. But there are other things that I have. I recorded First Take Today, and I stayed over and looked at Undisputed. I got several Morning Joes. This show, I said, is we kind of pattern it after Morning Joe. I've looked at it. Mika and Joe are out. The other guys are carrying this show. Reverend Al was on most of the show today. Hey, I look at those to get ideas. So those are the things that will hold us TV-wise. But after a while, you're going to kind of get tired of looking at all of the old. You want the new All-Americans. You want the all-new American Homecomings. And by the way, how in the world did they cut the lead actor in All American Homecoming. How did they take him out and the young lady that played the college president? We want to see how that plays out when it comes back. But the show I want to talk about, and I got 2 minutes to talk about it. The show I really want to talk about was Yellowstone, because in the golf course, on the golf course that we played in on, it was the ledges. It was the ledges of Utah, and we played the ledges of St. George. We played that course on Tuesday. We played that course on Tuesday, and it was the ledges where we were told that the 11th hole, the green, which is raised, Kevin Costner's house, is that house immediately in the background. And I took several shots of his selfies and all of that stuff. And of course, Kevin Costner is having some issues. He is in the throes of a divorce. And if that is their main home, we don't know what the ramifications of that is. But his refusal to come to no, I won't say his refusal, but the inability of he and Taylor Sheridan, the content holder for and the writer of Yellowstone, which was one of those shows that became immensely popular during the pandemic, with it not being available, he asked, Kevin Costner was doing a side project, and he asked, could he finish he asked Taylor Sheridan, could they film all of the episodes for the entire half season remaining in 1 week so that he could put his emphasis on his project. And there was an impasse between the two of them over that. And it got so bad that basically Sheridan said this was going to be the last year of Yellowstone, boohoo for many of us. And then it is said that it may not even come back on even when the strike is over. So these are the things that we have to face and deal with. We TV holics, these that like TV. Listen, anything culturally, anything travel-wise, anything entertainment-wise, anything sports-wise, we got about another show or two that we're going to be dealing with it before we take the gloves off and go heavy into politics and world events. Dialogue with Dozell. Hope to have my co-hosts by my side for some of these shows, these upcoming shows. But stay tuned with us, watch us. To our YouTube visitors, subscribe, tell others about the show. To you on Facebook, share it out, tell others about it. We appreciate absolutely every one of our viewers. Some of you all have been with us since 2020 when we kicked it off. Hats off, sincere appreciation to GoGigaCreations.com. You do an awesome job in bringing our show every week, and we're so grateful to you. And we want everybody to look at their services and bring their team on board to produce your work. As I see it, tonight's show was touted the future of sports debate shows. We have to see how it works out. We have to see how the new Undisputed works. We have to see what it does to First Take. I know one thing is going to push it to the next level, because I could see the passion in the industry Stephen A. came in on with today, because he knew that this show was debuting. It was rebooting and debuting, and he knew the talent that they have over at that other station now. So as I see it, we'll be keeping an eye on the TV strike, the writer's strike, the actor's strike, so we can have our full-fledged entertainment. This is what kept us going when some of us were locked in our homes during most of 2020. You guys don't know how much a lot of us it means to us. And for those that are not alcohol or TV holics like I am, you pop in when you don't see a news story or something that's going on. You're always available. Or Laughing Entertainment, somebody refers you to a show. A lot of shows I'm looking at that were referred to us. As I see it, let's get it together, man. Let's work it out. I understand labor, and I'm always on the side of people who are trying to make life better. I understand owners have a right to get their best deal. Let's just come together and make that happen. And we're going to sit back and enjoy and see how our sports debate shows fare out. And we'll come back and talk about this later. Next week, we're going to preview the NFL. May not be the whole show, but I'm going to ask our dear friend Jack Strickland to come on the dialogue and let's talk about it. We love you. We appreciate your dialogue with Dozell. We are looking for you on next Monday night, Eastern Time, here on YouTube and Facebook Live. Tell somebody. Tell Paula, tell Saul, tell them all that you saw us and it's a good show. And check it out. Thank you, Mac. Salute everybody.